Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're talking about one of the biggest stories shaking South Africa's political and business circles, the National Lotteries R180 billion contract, a deal that's now at the center of a storm between the EFF and the ANC government. The EFF says this is not just a tender, but a national scandal that exposes how deep political favoritism runs in South Africa. And when you hear the details, you might agree that something doesn't smell right. The controversy begins with the National Lotteries Commission awarding an 8-year contract worth R180 billion to the Gold Rush Consortium, led by two well-known KwaZulu-Natal businessmen, Moses Tembe and Sandile Zungu. On paper, it sounds like a business success story. But behind the glossy numbers, the EFF says it sees a web of political connections, secrecy, and possible conflicts of interest. Sandile Zungu is not just the owner of AmaZulu FC, he's also a man who once ran for ANC provincial chairperson in KZN. Moses Tembe, on the other hand, is known as a long-time ANC financier with close ties to some of the party's most influential figures. So when their consortium won the lottery deal, the EFF immediately cried foul, saying the contract was never about merit, it was about who you know in the ANC. According to the EFF, the entire bidding process lacked transparency. They allege that the National Lotteries Commission's evaluation committee included individuals who had direct business links to the Gold Rush Consortium. Two names stand out, Tiran Marimuthu and Anne-Marie Puli. The EFF claims Puli is the sole director of a company that houses Gold Rush gaming machines. That's like asking a referee to officiate a match for their own team. If true, it raises serious questions about whether the evaluation process was fair or simply a political formality. The EFF statement was scathing. They called the deal an assault on transparency and accused Minister of Trade, Industry, and Competition Parks Tau of conducting negotiations in secret. According to them, this is another example of how the ANC protects its wealthy allies while ordinary South Africans continue to struggle. They argue that R180 billion, money that could have been used to fund schools, clinics, and job creation, has been handed to politically connected businessmen under the guise of development. The National Lottery's purpose is supposed to be simple: collect money from ticket sales and channel it into public benefit projects. But as the EFF points out, when corruption creeps into the system, those funds never reach the communities they meant to help. Instead, they end up enriching a small circle of political elites. For the EFF, this contract represents the same old story: state institutions captured by those close to power. And let's not forget, this isn't the first time the National Lottery has faced controversy. Over the years, South Africans have seen reports of misused grants, missing millions, and questionable donations to shell organizations. But this time, the stakes are much higher. R180 billion is no small change, it's one of the largest contracts in South African history. And it's being handled by people who, according to the EFF, are too close to the ruling party for comfort. The EFF is now demanding action. They want Minister Parks Tau to appear before Parliament and explain every step of the bidding process. They want a full, independent re-evaluation of the contract, and they're threatening legal action to stop it from being implemented until that happens. The party says the Gold Rush Consortium deal is not just a conflict of interest, but a betrayal of public trust. But while the EFF is raising its voice, the ANC and the government remain silent. So far, there has been no public response from Minister Tau or the National Lotteries Commission addressing these serious allegations. That silence, critics say, only deepens suspicion. It gives the impression that there's something to hide. This story also highlights a much bigger issue: how state contracts in South Africa continue to be influenced by political connections. The country has been trying to clean up its image after years of corruption scandals, but every new deal like this seems to drag the government's reputation right back into the mud. The EFF argues that if people like Tembe and Zungu keep winning these massive tenders, it sends a message that ordinary South Africans will never stand a chance in a system built on insider privilege. Let's not forget that both Moses Tembe and Sandile Zungu are respected figures in business circles. They've made their fortunes through legitimate enterprises. But the question the EFF is asking is simple: should people with deep political ties be allowed to benefit from state-linked contracts, especially when the process is not open to public scrutiny? It's not necessarily about guilt, it's about the perception of fairness. In South Africa, perception matters. People have grown tired of seeing billion-rand contracts handed to the same connected individuals while unemployment rises and infrastructure crumbles. The EFF's anger taps into that frustration. They're positioning themselves as the defenders of public accountability, the party that calls out corruption even when others look away. Whether you love them or hate them, you can't deny they've hit a nerve with this one. The EFF says this fight is not just about one contract. It's about the soul of public governance in South Africa. Who gets to control the country's wealth? Who decides where public funds go? And how long will ordinary citizens keep losing while the politically powerful keep winning? They warn that unless South Africans demand accountability now, the cycle of cronyism will continue unchecked. This entire saga also comes at a sensitive time for the ANC, which is still navigating tensions within the government of national unity and dealing with ongoing corruption perceptions. The last thing the party needs is another scandal suggesting that its old habits are still alive and well. The EFF knows this, and they're using the moment to apply maximum pressure, politically, legally, and publicly. So where does this leave South Africans? Once again, caught between promises of transparency and the reality of secrecy. The National Lottery is meant to bring hope, opportunity, and fairness, but as it stands, many feel it has become yet another institution serving the powerful instead of the people. Whether this deal stands or gets overturned will depend on public pressure, parliamentary oversight, and how far the EFF is willing to push. At the end of the day, this is about trust. Can South Africans trust their government to manage massive public funds without political interference? Can they trust that the National Lottery really works for the people and not for the politically connected? Those are the questions hanging in the air tonight. So what do you think? Is the EFF right to challenge this contract, or are they simply using it to score political points against the ANC? Should the Gold Rush Consortium keep the deal, or should the entire process be restarted from scratch? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your take on this billion-rand saga. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more in-depth political analysis, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our updates. South African politics never sleeps, and neither do we. Thanks for watching, stay informed, and as always, see you next time.